These are the things you need to know before getting your first DEXA scan. And by the end of this video, I'm actually going to point you to a great resource that will help explain exactly what they're looking for while they do this scan. If we haven't met real quick, my name is Joe Siddaway. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and I help older adults live their best years on their own terms. Let's dive right in. So first off, what even is a DEXA scan? I want you to picture this. A strong, healthy grandmother who's sitting there gardening, playing with her grandkids, lifting them up in the air with ease, and is able to travel on vacation because she knows the exact strength of her bones. Now that's the power of a DEXA scan. It's a low radiation marvel that measures the might or strength of your bones by checking how densely packed your bones are with calcium and other minerals. Just like a house that has a shaky foundation, you wouldn't want to ignore the cracks, right? A DEXA scan actually helps to reveal where those weak spots are in your bones. So DEXA scans, they give you a lot of information, including two important numbers. That's your T-score and your Z-score. Here's what those numbers tell you. A T-score is how strong or dense your bones are compared to a 30-year-old woman. The idea is that around 20 to 30 years old, your bones should be at their peak strength. So it's just comparing how your bones stack up to when you were in your 20s or 30s. The Z-score is how strong or how dense your bones are compared to someone else who is your age. So if you're 65, that means that the Z-score looks around and says, hey, how are other 65-year-olds doing as far as their bone health goes? Now, while these numbers can be a bit confusing at first, I have a handout down below that you can download for free, and that gives you visuals on what the scores mean and which levels are actually osteopenia versus osteoporosis, or how do you compare to your peers. So go ahead real quick, go down below in the description, download that little PDF, and then keep watching the video. So what are the two questions you need to ask before you get your DEXA scan? That's what we're going to cover next. A DEXA scan can look a lot like this. This is an example I have here of, maybe some of the numbers or different pieces of information that DEXA scan may have. Sometimes you only get a T-score or a Z-score of your entire body. However, you should make sure to ask for a breakdown of the T-scores for your spine and your hip. And here's the reason why. The reason is because this will affect how you train your body. So for example, if you have maybe a super strong spine, but the hips are really low in bone density, that means that we need to be careful and very deliberate in how we add weights to your body. Because that might mean that an exercise that really works on your hips, for example, you can go a little bit lighter versus your strong spine can take a lot more weight, for example. Or if the reverse was true, if you had a really weak spine, a really bad T-score for your spine, but then your hips are super strong, then that's gonna change how we play with these exercises. And it's also gonna change, how we're gonna slowly progress that load. We're probably gonna increase the weight on the strong parts of your body a lot faster than we will on those parts that are a little bit weaker, because we wanna make sure that we're being safe and we're allowing those bones to adapt. And even better is if you can find out the difference between your left hip and your right hip, because not everyone is gonna give you that information. So if you can ask for that up front, that might help. And so those pieces of information, knowing the T-score for your spine and for your hips, preferably for both hips if they're able to give that to you so you can isolate individually, those are things, pieces of information that someone like myself, doctor of physical therapy, is able to use to tailor your exercises to make sure that we're strengthening where it needs to be strengthened, but we're also backing off a little bit on the areas that might not be ready to get as heavy of a load.
Too heavy.
Before we end, I wanted to leave you with this last piece of advice before getting your DEXA scan. And it's this: results equal information. They don't equal a life sentence. You might not be able to get back all the way to normal or -1 or less, but you can improve the bone strength, and you can get stronger, and you can build your balance. You can be capable of doing all the things you wanted to do as far as vacations and traveling and being with your family, enjoying those 60, 70, and 80 years, those wonderful decades, especially if you're gonna be focused on training with weights. It's all about building an accountability system to get to the gym, work out regularly, and then become stronger, just like we do here at Recover Life. Now, like I already said, if you feel like the T-score and Z-score are some things that you want more information on, I have a free download that you can just check out in the link below. But the whole purpose of this is to help you, before you get that DEXA scan, to know that this is helping me understand how strong my bones are. I need to know the T-scores for my spine and for my hips. And even if I get a really bad result, something I wasn't hoping for, that doesn't mean it's a life sentence. That doesn't mean you can't do anything about it. In fact, it's the exact opposite. That's what I specialize in. And there's so much information nowadays on how to manage low bone density. I hope you found this video helpful. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.